Our ego, our subconscious wants to keep us in our comfort zone, even if all we want is to break out of it and to expand into new things. This whole time I was just like, I don't get why I can't manifest things. Like, I feel like I'm doing everything right. I'm doing all the steps. Then I was like, oh, you can literally logic yourself out of your negative self-esteem. It's a crazy thing. So recently I realized that I don't really want success. I know that sounds crazy. Allow me to explain. So consciously, of course, I want success. I have a very specific vision of what I want my future life to look like. You know, I can see myself in a Malibu apartment by the beach, being self-employed, driving a Tesla, making a lot of money, doing things that I love, traveling all the time. Like, I have this very specific vision of what I want my life to look like. And even though the path to trying to achieve that has been full of uncertainty, and I've not always been clear on how I'm able to get there, I've always pretty strongly felt that at least mentally, I was in the right place. I had my vision in mind. I was doing things to manifest that. I was taking action. And I really thought that I was doing everything I could to bring that vision into fruition. Subconsciously, I am just not on that same page. I've always heard of this idea of limiting subconscious beliefs. Basically, beliefs subconsciously that you think about yourself, that you think about the world, that you think about money, that you think about your abilities, that hold you back from being able to achieve or manifest the things that you want. Because even if consciously you really want to, for example, find a long-term partner, if subconsciously you think that no one will ever love you and that you can't get a date to save your life, there's this resistance. These subconscious limiting beliefs are ultimately holding you back from what you think you want, right? And even though I knew about this idea of limiting subconscious beliefs, I was never really able to identify my own. It was something that I always just felt like I couldn't quite address because I couldn't figure out what mine were until I started noticing my self-sabotage. And noticing the self-sabotaging behaviors that I was doing is really what opened my eyes to the ways that I've been holding myself back without even really realizing it. So what does self-sabotage look like? When I'm presented with a new opportunity, even something that's exciting and that looks like it could be really good for me, and that I have a positive outlook on in my conscious brain, I've noticed a few different ways that I self-sabotage to try to push that opportunity away without even realizing that that's what I'm trying to do. One form of this is looking for a way out or looking for a reason why I can't or shouldn't do that thing. For example, if I plan a shoot that I'm really excited for, but I find myself the day before hoping that they're going to cancel. Or if I have a job interview and as soon as I get on the call, I'm immediately searching for red flags. Or before the call even begins, I'm thinking of reasons why the company actually wouldn't be good for me and I'm not really interested in the job after all. There was one week, like a month ago, where I had 3 job interviews for 3 companies that I thought were great fits for me, all in a week. What I should have seen as this huge opportunity, this huge abundance that was entering my life, I instead met with so much resistance, so much complaining. I was like, this is too much for me. I'm overwhelmed. I don't even really want to do these interviews. The whole interview process is stupid. I was being so negative and so complaining and just generally kicking and screaming when I was presented with something that I thought I wanted and that I had been working for, you know? I'd been sending in all these job applications because I wanted to get interviews, but then as soon as they were landing into my lap, I freaked out and did everything that I could to avoid them or to avoid thinking about them. How fucked is that? And I truly think that the reason why there was this dry spell after that was because I was presented with all these incredible opportunities. I had a lousy attitude about it, so why would the universe keep putting opportunities in front of me if I wasn't grateful, if I was sending out the message that basically I did not want those things? Another way that I self-sabotage is sometimes I'll make it about my identity. So basically saying things like, oh, I'm just not that type of person. Oh, I'm just not good at blank, even if it's something that I really want to do or it's a part of a job that I'm really interested in. Oh, I can't apply for this job because I don't know this one specific software. Instead of just giving it a shot and seeing if maybe that one tiny piece of information is something I could learn later down the line. Or just generally thinking, oh, I'm not qualified for this, I'm not the right person for this. When it comes to like working out, thinking, oh, I'm just not the type of person who works out, I'm just not the type of person that can build muscle. Basically just using identity statements about who I am to justify not going for things. And it's a serious way that my limiting beliefs are coming out, because if I want to work out, I can be the type of person who's into fitness. I don't need to self-sabotage by saying, oh, like, yeah, I would really want to work out. Yeah, I really want to get fit, but I'm just like not that type of person, so it's pointless. Like what? Like I can be that type of person if I want to. And another huge way that I self-sabotage is through procrastination. Specifically for me, this comes up in terms of procrastinating answering emails and answering messages. It gives me a lot of anxiety to try and plan things, negotiate things, so I will just avoid responding for as long as I feel like I can, instead of just confronting these things that could actually turn into really incredible opportunities. Basically, all of this is to say that even though consciously I might want a new job or I might want to further my photography career, I'm still actively self-sabotaging to prevent those new things from entering my life. So how can I possibly expect or complain when I'm not receiving these things that I want, when I'm actively kicking, screaming, and resisting whenever something new tries to come into my life? So why do I do this? Why do we all do this? Why do we self-sabotage? Ultimately, it's just fear. Fear that you're gonna mess up, fear of the unknown, fear that you're gonna realize that you're somehow not worthy for the things that you want, fear of being out of control, fear of putting part of your fate into someone else's hands. Because we don't know the outcome when we're presented with a new opportunity, you really do have to put your ego on the line, because the truth is that you don't know what's gonna happen. It could turn out absolutely horribly, but it also can turn out really amazing. But it does require you to take that risk, which is why fear is such a huge element when it comes to new opportunities. As I noticed more and more of my self-sabotaging behavior, it actually allowed me to realize what my limiting subconscious beliefs were by working backwards from these behaviors and then thinking, what in my mind could be causing me to want to avoid these types of situations? And a lot of these negative subconscious beliefs just come from feelings of unworthiness, not feeling good enough, thinking that I'm not capable of achieving the things that I want to achieve, not believing that things are going to work out for me, not believing that my dreams are attainable. My mind tends to just draw up images of past failures as well, which I didn't realize is really my subconscious limiting beliefs trying to hold me back, being like, look at these times that you failed, don't go for it. Because, our ego, our subconscious wants to keep us in our comfort zone, even if all we want is to break out of it and to expand into new things. And realizing that I really do have these super prevalent subconscious limiting beliefs was so frustrating, because consciously I really do want just radical life changes. And I don't think that I realized up until this point the way that I'm actively holding myself back, because I'm allowing these negative thought patterns and therefore my self-sabotaging behaviors to keep me from moving closer to those goals. And the amount that I'm resisting is making it a lot harder for opportunities and abundance to freely flow into my life. Even though consciously I'm sending out this message to the universe of hey, I'm ready for these things. I'm ready to embrace change. I'm ready for new experiences. Please draw abundance into my life. As soon as it tries to do that, as soon as the universe tries to bless me a little bit with new things, I'm immediately oh my God, get these the fuck away from me. I just want to relax, please. And I resist and I kick and scream and I don't show gratitude. So it's no wonder that these things aren't working out. But the positive thing about knowing these subconscious beliefs finally is that I can start to do the internal and external work to help me work through them and overcome them and not allow them to hold me back in my life. So let's dive into that. How can you counteract your self-sabotaging behavior, rewrite your negative limiting beliefs, and basically just stop holding yourself back from whatever you're trying to achieve? The key element of internal work to stop self-sabotaging is rewriting your negative beliefs. And you probably heard this before, basically arguing against your thoughts and beliefs and presenting a new, stronger, more positive belief that you want to embody. If you can't immediately think of what your limiting subconscious beliefs might be, I really encourage you to look at your words, look at your actions, and try to work backwards from there. So maybe you don't know what your subconscious beliefs are about money, but you catch yourself constantly saying things like, it's just so hard to make money from freelancing. Maybe that's your limiting subconscious belief, is that you don't think it's possible to make money working from yourself, or you don't think it's possible to make money in a non-traditional job. It's a lot easier to take your words or your actions and work backwards than to just try and figure out, what are your subconscious beliefs? Because if it was that easy, they wouldn't be subconscious, you know what I mean? The whole thing of them is that it's not something that you have in your active thoughts, it's something that's in the back of your head, so you're not gonna know what they are unless you look at the evidence in your life of what they are. So I wrote down a few examples of limiting subconscious beliefs and how I would rewrite them to basically turn them into something positive and flip the script on my subconscious mind. So here's one having to do with the whole opportunities thing I was talking about. Here is the limiting belief that I held. New opportunities result in me getting hurt. I prefer to stay in my comfort zone. And then I was able to rewrite this as I'm grateful for and open to receiving new opportunities. I take them one step at a time and meet them with the best version of myself that I'm capable of bringing forward at the moment. This is good for a lot of reasons, right? One, it's saying I'm grateful for, which is important. I'm trying to add gratitude back into my life approach, because even though I've heard to death from every self-help person ever that gratitude is essential, I'm still so bad at looking at the positives. So also says I'm open to receiving new opportunities, which I think is important because like we said, I've seen how much I resist new opportunities. So trying to stay open is the opposite of that. It's allowing things to come into my life. And then I think that this last part is essential. I take them one step at a time and meet them with the best version of myself that I'm capable of bringing forward at the moment. Why I think that that part is so good is that it doesn't require you to strain or to try and be someone else or force something in order to accept these opportunities. I think a lot of resistance comes from this idea that, oh, in order to do this opportunity that's being presented to me, I would have to be different. I would have to be someone else. I'm not right for it. Allowing myself permission just to show up and see what happens and take it one step at a time is so liberating because it doesn't require you to do anything else than to be yourself and show up. Okay, another belief that I could rewrite. If I mess up an opportunity, I will have lost that possibility. Inaction is safer because I cannot fail if I don't try. And this could be rewritten as I have nothing to lose and everything to gain. I really like this one because it's a good reminder that even if an opportunity is presented and it crashes and burns and nothing comes of it, you're in the same place that you were before. You know, these are new opportunities we're talking about. They're things that are entering into your life that previously you didn't have access to. Literally the worst case scenario is that nothing changes. Yes, you might have a little bit of an awkward encounter, things might get a little bit weird, but you're still gonna have the life that you have right now if the opportunity doesn't go anywhere. On the flip side, the potential for growth and for positive things to come out of it is huge. So that's why I really like this little affirmation. I have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So you can do this method of rewriting your beliefs into affirmations and then obviously using them as you would any affirmation. So you could journal the affirmations, you could say it in the mirror, you could say it out loud, whatever works for you in terms of affirmations. But if that feels a little intimidating, maybe you don't have any experience with affirmations, or maybe your beliefs are so set in stone that just trying to say the opposite to yourself feels a little extreme, feels a little sudden, and you just don't feel like you're gonna believe yourself. If that's the case for you, I have another method that I think you might like better, which is basically catching yourself in the moment and responding to your thoughts. Basically having a conversation with your inner monologue. What I like about this method is that it feels a lot more natural and conversational. And instead of just jumping immediately from a negative belief to a rewritten belief, you get to sort of be actively there during the process of using logic to decipher and deconstruct why that limiting belief is false. So I actually think a great example for this is something that happened to me yesterday that actually gave me the idea for this video, which was that I was cooking dinner and I was thinking about some photo shoots that I have coming up this week, basically just really good opportunities for my photography career. And I found myself replaying in my mind the few photo shoots I've had that went wrong, whether that was awkwardness during the shoot, whether that was not being happy with the final product. For whatever reasons, photo shoots that have been stored in my brain as failures and things that unfortunately I can't seem to get away from thinking about. I feel like this method is especially good for these moments where your brain starts pulling up negative experiences, negative examples for why you shouldn't try something or why you shouldn't do something or why you're no good at something. And our brains do this so often, it's literally ridiculous. So I was having these thoughts in my kitchen and there was just this moment of self-awareness where I was like, why are these thoughts replaying in my mind again? And I literally started speaking out loud to myself where I was like, brain, I don't know why you're fucking bringing up these 2 times that I had shoots that didn't go perfectly. Not only were those shoots not even that bad because I still ended up with a product that I liked or I learned something from it, you know. From this shoot, I learned not to do this with lighting. From this shoot, I learned not to do this when editing. Not only were those shoots not even that bad, but but why are you not bringing up the 100 other shoots that I did great on and that the model loved the photos and I killed the edit and I killed the shoot process and I was super happy with the results? Like, why are you bringing up the 2 negative cases when statistically most of the time it goes really well, and every time I have a shoot it's way more likely to go well than it is to go badly? And I can't even tell you how refreshing it was just to say that to myself and be like, I don't know why you're bringing this up. Another example of a scenario where you could use this sort of logicking yourself out of a negative thought or a negative belief is, for example, if you're trying to build a workout habit and you are saying to yourself, no matter how much I work out, I'm not going to get toned. Like, it's pointless. My body is just sort of stuck. I can't make any progress. Like, no matter what, I can't change my body. So what's the point? In a scenario like this, you could again bring up sort of a counter example where you're like, actually, I've seen my body change many times throughout my life. I remember this time 3 years ago where I was eating a lot healthier and my body changed. Basically, the gist of this is catching yourself in the moment when you're having negative beliefs or you're thinking up negative examples, like anything like that. You can see yourself in that moment and be like, wait, why the fuck am I thinking this? I know this isn't true. And I feel like this works really well for someone who has like a more logical brain, because you can literally logic yourself out of your negative self-esteem. It's a crazy thing once you realize that this is something that you can actively do. I think it's so much better than just letting your thoughts run on autopilot, to have enough awareness of catching yourself and being like, this is a negative thought, this is a negative belief, and there's no basis for it. Okay, so the second method for overcoming self-sabotage that I want to suggest is a little bit more concrete. It's a little more physical. It's more of an external change. Basically, it's just that when I catch myself procrastinating and I realize it's because I'm self-sabotaging or I'm scared. Basically, when I'm procrastinating out of fear or making some sort of excuse, I'll immediately call myself out. I'll identify it. This is me self-sabotaging. I know self-sabotaging is not good for me, so I'm gonna go do the thing that I really don't feel like doing right now. And it's crazy the extent to which it's just a mental weight off your shoulders too, when you realize that you're really avoiding something, really putting something off out of fear, and then you just decide, okay, I'm gonna rip the bandage off because I'm aware of what I'm doing here. So yes, when I realize that I'm procrastinating or making some sort of excuse for something from a self-sabotaging place, I'll immediately go do the action, and I will also express gratitude because, like I was saying, it sends such a lousy message that whenever the universe is presenting me with some sort of opportunity, I'm basically spitting in the face of that opportunity. I'm avoiding it, I'm complaining about it, I'm making excuses so I don't have to do anything with it. And like, what a bad message to be sending. So like, for example, I once applied for a job that seemed really fun. I had an in at the company and I got to the second step, which was basically an application project. It was going to be a lot of work, a lot of time and energy to invest in this application, and basically I chickened out. That's the truth. I made up this elaborate excuse that I just didn't have enough time to get it done. It was more important that I kept up with like my household chores than I got this project done. Basically decided, hey, I think I can apply to this again and I'll just do the project then. So that was my whole excuse, like, oh, I don't have time, and it's fine because I could do it next week. I can reapply and do this project all over again. I tried to do that and I didn't get put through to the project phase of that application, and I basically flushed that potential opportunity down the toilet. And looking back on it now, I'm just like, wow, I was so ungrateful and not putting any care into that opportunity. And now I really regret not giving myself a shot at that opportunity. There's this analogy in one of my favorite self-help books of all time, You Are a Badass. Hold on, I'm gonna get it. Favorite self-help book of all time, You Are a Badass. If you wanna hear me talk more about this, I have an entire video on my favorite self-development books, but there's this analogy in this book that basically says, when you are trying to manifest something, but you have limiting subconscious beliefs that are pushing that away or that believe it's not possible for you, it's like driving with one foot on the gas, one foot on the brake. So the gas side would be, you actively trying to manifest something you really want. It's you trying your best to put forth the actions and do the manifestation practices, basically everything that you're doing to try and achieve this dream that you really want in your mind. And then the brake side is that limiting subconscious beliefs, your self-sabotaging behavior, and just basically any beliefs that are counteracting you trying to manifest that thing, because your thoughts are a huge part of how you manifest things. And if you have these negative beliefs that are filling up your mind with negative thoughts, it's gonna be a lot harder to pull in those positive things for yourself. And I've read that book literally 10 fucking times. Like so many times I read it on repeat, but I think it's one of those things where things don't click until they do. And it was in this moment where I really started becoming more aware of my own beliefs that I was like, oh, because this whole time I was just like, I don't get why I can't manifest things. Like, I feel like I'm doing everything right. I'm doing all the steps. But at the same time, I had these bad fucking beliefs about myself, and I didn't really believe any of this stuff was attainable. So yes, I was pressing on the gas really fucking hard, but my subconscious was also pressing on the fucking brakes. So with this method of stopping yourself sabotaging through action, basically, as soon as you realize that you are pressing on both pedals, you have that self-awareness, you take your foot off the brake, you double down on the gas by doing the next action that's going to bring you closer to your goal. And basically that's you saying, you know, forget this fucking break. I'm not interested in any of these negative beliefs. I'm gonna act in spite of them, and they have no power over me. And that's a really powerful move. Do the action that will help me get closer to this goal, regardless of any fear. This next action that you take doesn't have to be this big crazy thing. It's literally just you showing up as the current version of yourself and doing the best that you can. Because if an opportunity is meant to happen for you now, if this is the stars aligning, if this is the universe bringing something into your vicinity, that's all that you need to do, is be yourself to receive that opportunity if that opportunity is meant for you now. Basically, through all these methods, you can make sure that you are only pressing on the gas and getting closer to the things that you want without any resistance or without any self-sabotage. Ultimately, it all boils down to your fear, and the only ways that you can really overcome that is through gratitude and self-love. So if you guys enjoyed this video, I hope you found it helpful. If you guys like my self-development content, I have an entire playlist with all my self-development videos. And if you guys are interested in more content like this or anything related to spirituality or self-help, definitely let me know, and I would love to make that for you. I hope you guys have the most beautiful day, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.